All right, everyone. So thrilled to be joined by Jimmer Fredette, formerly from BYU, former professional, NBA, Shanghai Sharks, and now the general manager, after winning a gold at one point with FIBA, of three-on-three basketball for USA Basketball. Jimmer, I can't even believe you're retired now because I just think back to when I was just covering you. And
Yeah.
one of my favorites all time, covering in men's college basketball. But before I talk about the past, let's deal
Yeah.
with the future. Um, Tell me about this role. Like, why did you want to gravitate to now an administrative role after you're done playing for three on
Yeah.
three?
Yeah, for sure. Honestly, it wasn't something that was necessarily on my radar to start with. I was, after the Olympics, tough injury, obviously, and just kind of a disappointing thing. And at that point, I knew I had a long rehab in front of me. It was going to take 8, 9 months in order to, get back healthy and ready to go again. So as I was doing that, I was like, all right. I went into that thinking, hey, that was going to be my last event, and I'm kind of done after that. So after that happened, I was like, do I want to try to give it a go one more time? What do I want to do? And I decided that, I just didn't love the daily grind of it anymore. So because of that, I just felt like it was the right time to step away. And as I did that, Jay Demings and Jim Tooley with USA Basketball, they called me up like, hey, are you interested in playing still? What do you want to do? And I was like, I don't think I'm going to anymore. And they're like, all right, well, we have something that we would like to present to you as an administrative role and being, managing director of 3x3 program. When I was like, all right, well, what does that entail? And they're like, well, you basically run the program. Like you kind of pick the teams and you make the schedules, you kind of do all the stuff that a GM president would kind of do. And I was like, all right, well, let me think about it. And I ultimately obviously decided to jump into it. Reason being, I love the sport. I think there's a ton of room to grow for the sport. It's been so good to me the last several years, and also the people that are involved have just been awesome. They're lifelong friends, and I think it's a great way to play the game. It's a lot of fun. I think it's great for youth development. But like with the Olympics being in LA in 2028, I think there's going to be a lot of eyeballs on 3x3 basketball, just with people seeing what's going to happen. And I'm happy to be a part of that, and I want to just try to grow the game and give another avenue to people to go out and play and consume the sport.
All right, so obviously men and women play three-on-three, but let's dumb it down for folks that just try to grasp what are the major differences outside of full court versus half, five versus three,
Yep.
that people might not really grasp in terms of the skills needed to be successful on 3x3.
Yeah, totally. So obviously, like you said, half court. It's a 12-second shot clock. So because of that, super fast paced. You got to make quick decisions and understand how to play the game at a high level. It's the first one to 21 or 10 minutes. So, when you think of that, it's kind of do or die right from the get-go. There's every point is important. And you have to be ready to go right from the jump. You don't want to get down 5, 6 points. It's extremely hard to come back from that. Also the two versus the one. That's a big difference. Like think about it in 5-on-5. If you had a 2-pointer and then you had a 4-point shot, right? Like everyone's thought about that, and it's how much more that is, and how many more 4-point shots would be shot. If you're playing in the NBA or in a different league. So just thinking about at that point, 2 points are definitely something that's important. So we want guys that can shoot the ball. We want guys that are versatile, can kind of guard multiple positions. They have to be able to dribble it a little bit because you're going to handle the ball at some point, during the game. So we want guys that are definitely versatile and have high IQ and can shoot the ball. Easier said than done, right? Like everyone's looking for those guys. So but that's obviously what we would be looking for as well.
So if we're just playing pickup and half court, growing up, you get a rebound off of the other team's missed shot. You
Yep.
always had to go back to the 3-point line to
Yep.
reset. What's the
Yep.
rule on 3x3?
That's the same rule, right? So anytime there's a change of possession, you have to clear it, what they call, and that's going past the 2-point arc or the 3-point arc for 5-on-5. So that's every possession. So even if there's an air ball or if there's a steal, whatever that is, you have to take it past that arc to clear it in order to be eligible to shoot the ball again. And that being said, when there's a made basket, then you still have to clear it, right? There, it's continuous play. So you don't take it out of the rim and then go back and check it up like you would, when you're playing with your friends. You take it out of the rim and you get it back and clear it as quickly as you can, and then you just keep playing until there's a dead ball. So that continuous play makes it so that you have to really be in pretty good shape. It's a different type of shape than 5-on-5. But you definitely have to be willing, to grind it out. You could play for a minute, minute and a half straight without any breaks, a lot of chains of possessions, very physical. So you can get tired, and it's kind of a different type of fatigue than you feel in 5-on-5.
So, Olympic gold has been dominated, men and women, by the U.S. This is a relatively new sport, obviously. What's it going to take for the U.S. to ascend to that at the Olympic level?
Yeah, for sure. It was too bad. I felt like we really had a shot last time. This last Olympics, we were number one team in the world going into the tournament, and we were playing really well. And I think we would have given ourselves a really good shot. But when you only have three guys playing, it's really difficult. It's so tiring over that span of time. So the guys did the best they could. But I think for us as a program is we want to make sure that we're just putting ourselves in the best position to win tournaments, and be consistently, in tournaments to win them, right? Getting to semifinals, getting to finals, and winning tournaments. In 3x3, it's a little different because the sport is so variant, right? There's so many elements that you have to deal with, whether it be the sun or the wind or the heat, the courts. There's a lot of things. Like, you're not just playing in a nice gym where the variables are always the same. It's a little bit different. Plus, it's such a short game. You never know. There could be a guy that all of a sudden goes off on another team, hits 5-2s, and there's nothing you can do about it. Maybe he banked three of them in, or whatever it is. And, so like I said, it's hard to win every event, but you want to get yourself in the position where when you're in a tournament, or USA is in a tournament, that we are always capable of winning those events. And I think we're building to that direction. But obviously, gold is the standard at USA basketball. It always has been for the men and the women's side. So that puts a lot of pressure, on us for the 3x3 program to be able to do that. And but we're confident we can be the best country in the world at 3x3 basketball if we keep building and put ourselves in a really good position to coming 2028.
So, as I said, 5-on-5, everyone's chasing the U.S. Is there a country that the U.S. is chasing?
Serbia has been the best 3x3 country for a long time. I'd say probably the last 10 years. They've kind of been the standard. I'd say the last year or two, though,
Now,
there's
the
been a lot.
Joker's not playing, though.
What? Yeah, he's not. Luckily, he's not playing. But they love 3x3 basketball there. They've played, but the gold medalists were the Netherlands, who's been pretty good at 3x3 basketball. France is getting better. I think teams are starting to like really. You'll see teams that are starting to catch up and get pretty good. A lot of the Asian countries are taking a big interest in 3x3 basketball. They all have professional leagues. They're putting a lot of interest in a ton of money into it. So you're going to see a lot of these countries getting better and better. And for us, we just need to make sure to stay ahead of the curve and try to get talent to come play.
All right. So, um, back to when you were playing. What Caitlin Clark is doing on the women's side and the deep logo threes. We can draw a line to Steph Curry, but I also would say, I mean, you were overlapping in that era of the deep threes and the game-changing threes. When you think back to that part of your career at BYU, and there was this phenomenon around you when you would just pull up from wherever, what do you remember most about how that changed the game, really, and your career to be able to hit those kind of deep threes?
Yeah, it definitely wasn't something that people were just regularly doing, right? Whether it be NBA, college, high school. That's not something that people just kind of did. But it was always something that I tried to do ever since I was young. I had the older brother, who TJ, and 7 years older than me. Because of that, I was always shooting from the outside. Like, I just couldn't go inside, just get my shot blocked every single time. So because of that, I learned how to use my legs at a young age and to be able to get that ball, and shoot threes from a young age. And then I just kept going back and was like, hey, if I can shoot the same shot, but just move it back 4 or 5 feet, why not shoot it? It opens up the spacing. Guys don't guard me out here nearly as difficult, nearly as hard. So I'm like, I'm just going to shoot it. And I kept doing that. And obviously in high school, my coach was nice enough to let me shoot those shots, and then so was Coach Rose at BYU. I had to earn it for sure. It took some time for him to be like, all right, I'm okay with that shot. But once he saw it going in at a pretty high clip, he was like, all right, go ahead and do it. And then I think the biggest thing was, it just creates spacing, right? And I think that's what all the teams started to see is just if I have to guard this person all the way out here, now the driving lanes open up. It gives other people's other opportunities, and that's why you saw, Golden State be so great with Steph and with Clay and all these guys that could shoot from such deep distances. It was you had to guard them all the way over half court. That opens up everything for everyone else, the cutting lanes, the off-ball screening, all of this stuff. So you've seen people go to that evolution just because it's much more difficult to guard. But I'd like to say I have at least a little bit to do. Obviously, I'm not nearly the biggest one, but I thought I had a little bit to do with it for sure, and keep the game moving forward.
All right, so I want to know what you remember about this because I'm going to tell you, in the last 20 years, one of my favorite games I ever covered was BYU San Diego State. And people forget you were right there with Kawhi Leonard. Like that was your era. And if I'm not mistaken, you guys were both maybe in the top five for that game.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah, we were.
I mean, it was an unbelievable atmosphere, both
Yep.
games that year. But what do you remember about that home and home series against San Diego State and Kawhi, which I think was
Yeah,
in 2011, if I'm not mistaken?
yep, 2011. So incredible stuff, right? Kawhi Leonard obviously went on to be unbelievable NBA player, Finals MVP, championships, all the above, and obviously, I think when we were playing, he was a little bit more raw, right? He didn't have as much of the shooting ability, the ball handling ability, but he was super strong, very athletic, huge hands, got every rebound. You could see that there was some skill that if he developed, that he was going to be great. And that whole team was just really long, athletic, could kind of play. They were, yeah, like you said, top five. When we were down in San Diego State, it was, their atmosphere was amazing. The show is what they call it, and they're just up and screaming the whole game. They have their chants and all that stuff, and for us, we love it, right? Like that's what we play for as college athletes. You want to play in environments like that. And we had a really good game. We ended up winning. Brandon played really well. My roommate Charles Buo ended up hitting like four or five threes in the corners and made some huge plays. And yeah, we ended up beating them both times at our place and at their place, which helped our rankings obviously. But just such great games. People wanted to watch those games, right? Everyone in the country was locking into BYU San Diego State, which is not normal. And I think that's why people loved it because it was kind of, abnormal for those two teams to be in the top five, but also people wanted to tune in and see that matchup. So it was a lot of fun.
And I know, look, it was unfortunate what happened with Brandon Davies. He was not able to play in that postseason. But I really believed you guys had a team, if you guys were full, that could have won the whole thing. When you look back on that incredible run, I mean, how much you think about what could have been? I think that was the same tournament you guys beat Gonzaga, and you went off of that. I mean, what do you remember about how good that team was and could have been, and maybe competing for the title?
Yeah, we were really good. We really were. I mean, we had a full team. We had veteran guards. We had a big guy and a couple big guys that could play. Obviously, Brandon ended up, he was, our second leading scorer, our leading rebounder. Wasn't able to play in the tournament. We also lost another big guy, Chris Collinsworth, in the middle of the season, who was also one of our huge rebounders, guy that can stretch the floor. So we lost both those the big guys, and we were kind of thin at that point. We had some guys that really stepped up and played the best that they could. And I mean, we still made a Sweet 16 run. We lost to Florida in overtime, so it wasn't like that was a slouch of a game. You could have been right in the Elite Eight, even from that. I do believe we had an opportunity to possibly, get into a Final Four, or we had the talent to win it if we were at full cylinder for sure. But you never know. The tournament's always crazy, right? The tournament is one of those things where nothing is given. It's all about how you're playing and what the momentum is going into those games. But the run was a lot of fun. Just we were pumped to be able to make it to the Sweet 16, something BYU hadn't done for a long time, and wish we could have made it longer. But I think we had a great run.
Last two things for you. You had, I think, a outstanding career. It wasn't, obviously you weren't playing consistently at a high level with the NBA, but you're very successful in Shanghai. Played in the NBA, played overseas. it's not one size fits all. As you know, as we're talking, we're in draft time. What's your advice to these players that are coming through that maybe only have the NBA in their mind? I mean, you were one of the most successful college players ever, and yet it doesn't always work out at
Yeah.
that in that league. What's your advice to other players going forward as they think globally at this point?
Yeah, totally. I mean, there's a ton of amazing leagues out there now. I mean, the way that you see it going about the Euro League, Australia, China, Japan. There's a lot of great leagues out there to play in, and basketball is a global sport, right? And the thing about it is, like, once you get over to these countries, these people love basketball. You feel like a superstar, right? Like you are superstars in these countries, and it's really fun to be able to be a part of that. Not everything's going to work out the way that you want it to, right? Like I was fortunate enough to have such a great college career and get drafted, in the lottery of the NBA draft. Like if I had told myself that when I was 5 years old, I would have been unbelievably ecstatic, right? Like that's the dream. And I was fortunate enough to be able to do that and be able to live it out. But you never know what's going to happen once you get there. And, for me, it was very up and down once in the NBA, but then, once that door closed, another door opened. And my advice to these guys is always, once that door opens, make sure you take full advantage of it, right? Because you never know how that's going to work out. You never know what opportunities that's going to arise from that. And it went from for me, being an NBA and being someone who people were like, hey, what's happening to this guy to going to Shanghai and crushing it over there and winning MVPs and scoring titles. And then everyone's like, well, why isn't he in the NBA again? Right? Like everything kind of turned back. And, it's always about just diving into that opportunity and making sure you're prepared and ready to go when that door opens. And there's a lot of really great places to play basketball and make a lot of money and be able to provide for your family and enjoy it. So it's been a very, very successful and rewarding career. And yeah, I wouldn't change it at all.
Last thing for AJ DeBanza, coming to BYU. They just came off a Sweet 16. The
Yeah.
program is crushing it. They're in the Big 12 now. What are your thoughts on your alma mater here going forward?
Man, they're really well positioned right now. They really are. Football and basketball. All their programs at BYU are actually doing really well. It's fun to see. They just had an AD change. My guy Brian Santiago is now the AD at BYU, and Tom did such an amazing job putting this program where it is today. Kevin Young is awesome. He's just a great coach. He's a great dude. He's got those guys working hard. He's got a professional system that he's running, and that's why you see all these high and type talent players that want to come and be in that system because he's running it just like a pro system would. And that's what these guys want. They're getting pitched, hey, come develop for a year or longer if you want to, and then go pursue your dreams in the NBA. And then the other guys can stay and continue to build that culture. But they're exciting. They're exciting. It's exciting times to be a BYU fan. AJ is obviously amazing. They got Wright and all these other guys to be super pumped about as well. Richie came back. So then, and now there's a lot of expectation though, right? Everyone's talking about him. We haven't really been in that position before where everyone's talking about you from the beginning of the year, thinking that this is a Final Four potential team. Because of that, it's going to be a lot of fun. There'll be a lot of media. And then it's about going out there and reaching expectations or exceeding expectations. And I think they can do it. I think they have the wherewithal and the players to do it. I'm just excited to watch.
Awesome. Jimmer, always a pleasure to talk to you. So happy for all your success, both on the court and off. And we look forward to what you're going to do and leading 3x3 basketball for the United States.
Thanks, Andy. I appreciate it. It's always good to talk to you. We'll talk again soon.